Hi, I'm Nicole, and I am the arts pastor here at The Crossing. If you are looking for freedom from the comparison trap and some better ways to find contentment in your daily life, then this is the service for you. Now, what is The Crossing if you just happened upon this? The Crossing is where people go to explore faith and experience the life-changing ways of Jesus. So, first things first, go get the free resource that we have made for you. Even if you're just curious about faith, check it out. And if you have felt distant from God for a while, we hope this gives you exactly what you have been looking for. It's about the 4 truths we all need to remember about God and who He is to us. You can scan the QR code or use the link in the description to get your guide, but do it today. And now, here's Michelle, our invaluable pastor of operations, with a funny and super helpful message about contentment. Welcome to part 2 in our Beat the Odds series.
Hello! It is so good to be with you here this Memorial Day week. My name is Michelle, and I may not be familiar with some of you because my primary role here at The Crossing is behind the scenes. A little bit about me. I've been on staff at The Crossing for 14 years, and over the years, I've had several roles here, including connecting with our local schools, TC Kids, which I am super grateful for because my own daughter was raised and baptized here, and now I am currently the pastor of operations, which means that I get to work on IT, our database, spreadsheets, contracts. Don't fall asleep or leave me yet. All super fun things that help provide support for The Crossing. But I am really excited to be here today, and I think that Andrew asked me to teach today in this series because I am the finance person on staff. I get to help the church plan our church budget. I'm involved in Financial Peace University here. I lead the legacy team with Andrew. And if you're my friend, I'll be in your ear about saving money. I so believe in the importance of stewardship of God's resources and that we are just temporary managers of all that God has given us, which includes our time, our talents, and our treasures. And in this series, Beat the Odds, we're mostly dabbling in the treasure department. There are so many facets about money that we have been talking about, and the piece of the pie that we're talking about today is how to be content. Another word for content is satisfied. So I'll use those words interchangeably because don't we all want to be satisfied with our life or our finances or other areas of our life, such as our job and our relationships? I think that's a thing that we want most in our lives. But with all of the stressors, the struggles, and the things around us that tell us that we need more in order to be satisfied or happy, finding contentment seems like it's like an old idea before online shopping was invented. So today, we're going to look at why I believe so many of us struggle in this area. We'll talk about some of the lies that we live with, and most importantly, we'll look at what God says about contentment. Before we started, let's pray together. God, thank you so much for this time together where we get to just jump into your word and see what you have for us. God, I pray that you would help us have open hearts to what you have to say. And God, I am just so thankful for the community that we have here online through the Crossing Church, where we get to grow and where you love us right where we're at. Amen. So let's begin by talking about our current reality. We live in a very wealthy place with fancy cars, designer clothes, surrounded by multi-million-dollar homes. Sometimes when I have friends come and visit from out of town, one of the fun things that I like to do is walk around Lido Island on a Saturday. We eat outdoors, facing the water. You've been there, right? Watching the parade of luxury cars pull through, and I think, this is Orange County. Or another iconic Orange County spot is South Coast Plaza, the mecca of designer shops that have items that seriously compete for all of our paychecks. We are surrounded by beautiful things all the time. And in addition to that, everywhere we turn, we are constantly swamped by ads. Okay, you guys, a moment of honesty here. I am too cheap to pay the $6 more a month to get Hulu ad-free. So I watch commercials and I'm proud of it. And I think I only watch a couple of ads a day that say, buy this, watch this, you need this. So I wondered, how many ads do we actually see in a day? I didn't know, so I checked online. So I want to ask you guys, is it in the hundreds? Is it in the thousands? What I found was really surprising. So think about it. How many ads do you think we see in a day? Do you think it's 50 to 100 ads a day? Up more, maybe 500? Well, in 2007, a market research firm, they estimated that the average person saw up to, you guys, 5,000 ads a day. Okay, fast forward to 2021. This is not like official data, but the average person is now estimated to encounter between 6,000 to 10,000 ads every single day. You guys, this is completely mind-blowing. You guys, ads are not just commercials anymore. It's every single logo that you see. It's probably every other Facebook and Instagram reel that you scroll past. It's every content creator that has a decent following that's saying, hey guys, I just gotta tell you about this really great shampoo that I just bought. And if you click on my link below and use my special code, Michelle20, then you can save 20%. You guys, I didn't realize I needed new shampoo until I saw my DIY content creator talk about shampoo. You guys, the point is, there is a lot out there telling us that our something isn't good enough and that we need more in order to be happy or satisfied. Have you ever thought, if I get that bag, ladies, you're here with me, right? Or that my outfit would be complete. Or maybe people would give me that head nod. Or if I had that car, then maybe people would respect me and maybe my life would be better. Or if I lived in that neighborhood, that I would be finally happy. If we are honest, we've all had thoughts of, if I only had this or that, you fill in your own blank, then my life would be better. Okay, here's the thing. God, He gives us stuff, a lot of stuff. He provided all that we have to us, but He doesn't want our hearts to live in the space of thinking that life fulfillment rests in obtaining a thing. In the Bible, it addresses the topic of contentment because the idea of wanting more and not having it is not a modern idea. It's something that Paul, an author in the Bible, he struggled with it himself. And he and the other writers, they talk about contentment. 1 Timothy 6:6-8 says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world and we could take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that." In the rest of our time together today, I'm going to share with you what God says about contentment by first pointing out 2 myths that we hold on to, and then we'll look at 2 truths and how to apply that to our lives. But I do want to say this before we jump in together. We are all on a journey. No one has it figured out. I don't have it figured out. And every time you show up online to be part of this amazing community, there are Bible verses, there's new concepts, there's strange ideas, there's practical tips that probably leave your head swimming. I know, it's a lot, and I want to encourage you to maybe have one takeaway, one step or one promise for God that is just for you. And if you could apply that one thing to your life this week, I hope you know that I am cheering for you and saying, great job, you did a hard thing, keep it up. Okay, let's get started. Myth number 1. Contentment and satisfaction exist in something external. So we've already started this conversation, but the idea of contentment and satisfaction, that it can come from something else, it's a myth. You guys, it is a lie. We cannot find contentment in the external, whether it's in another person, in the stuff we have, or in money. Really powerful marketing has convinced all of us that if we had a little bit more of something else, then we'd be content. I don't know what it is for you, but for me at one point, it was about a car. I'll share that story with you in just a moment. But I think it's important for us to acknowledge that there are billions of dollars that are at play, pushing really powerful messages at us every single day. And we need to understand that they are spinning a really big lie. Because that new bag that you got, it becomes old pretty quick. And that car that you bought doesn't actually solve your emotional or relational problems. And that buyer's remorse, it's deep when that credit card bill comes. The regret is real. And I've often wondered to myself when I look at my credit card bill, what was I thinking when I wanted that so badly? So if that's the myth, then what's the truth? Okay, truth number one. Contentment is an inside job because we can trust in what God provides. God's provision, it's enough, and God's provision is good. And way too often, you guys, we miss the good and the enough because our mind is focused on what we don't have. James 1:17 says, "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights." God has given each of us so many good gifts, but we miss it. He wants us to be content with the good things that He has given us. And the secret to trusting God and enjoying God's provision is actually inside of us in learning to be content. So I'm going to go back to this verse again in 1 Timothy that says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world and we could take nothing out of it. But if we had food and clothing, we'll be content with that." So you're probably thinking, okay, Timothy, that's nice. You're saying that contentment is good for me and that I need to be content even with the food and clothing that I have. But how do I do that? I'm going to share with you my personal working definition of contentment. You ready? It's actually a really simple concept. Contentment is wanting what you have. I personally learned this about 20 years ago in a church that I was going to in LA, and it changed my thinking forever. Why don't you come back with me in time? I was originally born and raised in New Jersey, and I spent most of my early years on the East Coast. God called me to move to California to go to school at Talbot Theological Seminary, and I came here with 2 suitcases and a car that my parents gifted me, a Toyota Camry, an old Toyota Camry. You guys, this is the car story that I was alluding to earlier. I remember so clearly driving that Camry around LA and not being super thrilled about that car. It was, just a car. The color was beige. Beige is blah. There's nothing fun or interesting about the car. It was 100% about reliability, 0% fun. So I remember sitting in that church Sunday morning, literally 20 years ago, and the pastor said, "To be content, you have to want what you have. Say it out loud until you believe it." And I thought, the thing that I am most discontent with in my life is my car. I do not want my car. I want another car. But I was willing to give it a try because apparently contentment can be learned, and I knew that my thinking wasn't good. Okay, so I started to say things to myself like, I like my Camry. I like my Camry because I don't have payments on my Camry. That's good, right? I like my Camry because it's reliable. I like that my Camry has good gas mileage. I like that my Camry gets me to school and work every single day. And you guys, lo and behold, I began seeing my Camry in a whole new light. And I learned not only to like my car, but I became satisfied with my car. I ended up driving my Camry for many years, and every time envy or discontent reared its ugly head, I practiced wanting what I have. It is a spiritual and mental exercise to want what you have and to trust God in His provision. And I believe that in this, as with all the other things in life, we can learn and grow. And the truth is that with most things in life, just a change, a shift in perspective will change everything. Paul in the Bible writes this in his letter to the city of Philippi. He says, "I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. A couple of things stick out to me as I read this verse. Did you notice that Paul also had to learn contentment? It was something that at one point he didn't know how to do, and he had to work on it. I'm sure he went through moments of grumbling when he was hungry and suffering. And you know what? He's not so different from us. I grumble. Oh, I grumble a lot when I'm hungry, and especially when I suffer. But in those moments of need and difficulty, Paul used that moment to learn to be content. Also, I was really struck with where he went for help when he was learning contentment. Read the last part of that verse along with me. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Okay, a little side note, you guys. This is the verse that can often be misused because we see it on wall hangings, it's on t-shirts, it's quoted kind of like as a spiritual blanket for any challenge. But here, in this context, he's actually talking about leaning on God in the process of learning how to be content. That in the process of trying, probably failing and trying again, getting a little bit better, that he leaned on God for strength and help. Like Paul, we can also learn to be content, and we can lean on God for strength in the process. Okay, let's move on to myth number 2, which is the grass is greener on the other side. We hear this phrase a lot, and it basically refers to when someone is not happy with their own situation in life and always assumes that there are better things in other places. You guys, it is comparing, and it usually comes hand in hand with making a lot of assumptions that are not true. Because in this saying, we assume that our neighbor or our friend or our coworker, that their yard is greener than ours. We assume that their life is easy. We assume that their job is better. We assume that they don't struggle with their relationships or maybe even mental health issues. In reality, they are probably comparing themselves to other people, possibly even you, wishing for what they didn't have. Okay, this brings us to the second truth. Truth number 2 is that comparison kills. You never win when you compare. Let me share a personal story. Just this week, I felt a rotting in my stomach because I allowed myself to compare. I'm a parent of a 9-year-old, and I really try to focus on allowing her to be herself and not pushing her too much in life. But just the other day, I was on Facebook and I saw an acquaintance post a really nice birthday post about his 12-year-old son, highlighting all of his accomplishments that year. His middle school son was pitching at a baseball game, and then the next video was his kid ripping on the electric guitar, and the next video was his kid performing in a solo cello recital. You guys, my eyes grew like saucers and my heart stank with jealousy as I saw this other kid shine. Okay, you guys, I just started my daughter on the flute, and we could barely get hot crust buns out. In that moment, I thought, my kid is behind. I haven't done enough. I have failed. My heart was comparing, and I was sliding into this awful place of sin because I was becoming envious of what God had gifted another person. There is always someone else with more stuff, more money, better relationship, a better job, more talent. And when we start comparing in any area of our lives, we will always end up losing. Here's a proverb that sums up and carries so much truth. Proverbs 14:30. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Or here's a quote that I really love from C.S. Lewis that resonates with me. He says, comparison is the thief of joy. What happens to you when you scroll through social media? What happens to you when you see other people succeed in your workplace? Do you compare? Do you get envious? Or do you talk down on yourself? You guys, comparison, it is the thief of joy. And if we give ourselves to a mindset of comparing, we can get stuck in a really unhealthy place. Come on, let's admit it. It happens so often, and it happens secretly in our minds. And most of the time, it's so sneaky that we don't even realize that we've gotten there. And all of a sudden, our mood has shifted. So when we are here, how do we get out? In my personal quest to stop comparing, I found some really simple steps that helped me that I want to share with you. First, recognize when you are most susceptible to compare. Okay, I'll go first. For me, it's online, and it's with my appearance, my clothes, my skin, my wrinkles. I know that I'm hyper aware of how I look, and it comes to the surface when I'm looking at other people on social media. I know it's a weak spot for me, and I'm constantly working on it with God. But I need to be aware that these thoughts arise when I'm looking around on social media. So, what is that area for you? Do you know where you are susceptible to compare? Is it also with your appearance? Is it with comparing your kids to other kids? Are you always trying to compare your net worth to somebody else's? Take note of that, and let's move on to the next step, which is to practice self-compassion. Self-compassion is treating yourself with the same care and kindness that you would show someone that you love. The thing is, our brains, they like to compare. It's kind of like how we figure out how we're doing, but how we process it, it's not always the truth and not always useful. And we need to show compassion and kindness to ourselves when these thoughts arise. If you want to stop comparing, you need to practice self-compassion by tapping in to the kindness that we often show so easily to others. So when I read that birthday post of that kid's accomplishments, did you see how quickly I went from, oh, wow, look at what this kid can do, to I failed? In that moment, what could have been a really healthy step for me would be to practice self-compassion. Hey, Michelle, you're actually a great mom. You love Juliet well, and you are doing your best, and that's all that's required of you. Okay, next, I want you to consider the bigger perspective. You guys, what we see is only one-sided. We see the highlight reel in another person's life. You know, on our Instagram walls, you can tap on the button and watch someone's highlights. No, they did not think it was a good idea to also have a collection called lowlights, because nobody wants to share that. We all only put the best in the edited photos and moments online. And we can lose perspective when we look at that and we compare ourselves to that. You guys, consider the bigger perspective and remember, what's online is not real. Last, but most importantly, we need to seek God. Psalm 34:10 says, "Those who seek the Lord lack no good thing." When we seek God, this psalm says that we will not lack. This is not just an ideal or an idea. You guys, this is truth. And I'm living testimony of it. In my personal walk with God, I've turned to God in financial stress, in feeling abandoned by people, in shame, and in my worst failures. He's never failed to provide what I really needed. And if you're new to the concept of faith in Jesus and seeking God, I want to tell you what you will find. When you seek God, you will not find judgment, criticism, or a list of things to do. No. All you will find is a God that loves you so much. My prayer today is that we would each take one step this week. It could be picking one thing to practice contentment with, Or if you're someone who's new to faith in God and wants to learn more, reach out to us because we want to help you. That's a great one step. Or maybe consider downloading the finance resource or join the one-time budget tune-up class at the Crossing. Whatever your one step will be, we want you to know that we support you wherever you are in your faith journey. Thank you so much for being with us here today, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Isn't it just like heaven when you walk into the room? There's not a thing that's hidden when every eye is on you. Can't get enough of your presence. It's the perfect point of view. Isn't it just like heaven? Come a little closer, stay a little longer. I can't get enough of you. Come a little closer, stay a little longer. I can't get enough of you. Doesn't it sound like heaven when you're singing over me? There's not a voice more constant, and melodies they never cease. Here I will stand in your presence. It's my true identity. Doesn't it sound like, yeah, it sounds like, just like heaven. Come a little closer, stay a little longer. I can't get enough of you. Come a little closer, stay a little longer. I can't get enough of you. Can't get enough of you. And holy, you are holy. You're such a perfect Father. I worship you forever. Holy, you are holy. I lay down any treasure for us to be together. Holy, you are holy. You're such a perfect Father. I worship you forever. Holy, you are holy. I lay down any treasure for us to be together. Come a little closer, stay a little longer. I can't get enough of you. Come a little closer, stay a little longer. I can't get enough of you.
Thank you so much for being here. The Crossing is the place for you to explore faith and experience the life-changing ways of Jesus. In this series, Beat the Odds, we are talking about money, financial freedom, joy, and empowerment, right? We can beat the odds in this department. We have 2 resources to help you do just that. So, financial freedom starts with a budget. knowing where your money is going. So check out this free worksheet to help make your first budget or to rework your budget so that it is working for you. Download it today. And also, if you are in Orange County, we are offering a one-time class here on campus, June 1st, from 6:30 to 8, called Budget Refresh. So if you'd like help putting together your budget for that first time, or maybe you want to refresh it with new eyes, come to this class. You can register now, and it is totally free. Time, talent, and treasure. Those are words you'll hear church people say because they are the things we've been given in order to bless others. So, what are you doing with your time and your talent and your treasure to help other people? The research is super clear that serving others makes our own lives better, and the crossing is a vehicle for you to live a life of purpose. Volunteering is a way for you to use your time and talents to make a difference. You can volunteer from home, on our campus, and in the community. Our outreach pastor, Josh, he's here to help you find your perfect volunteer opportunity, whether it is helping kids at a summer camp, or serving food to someone experiencing homelessness, or even operating a camera on a Sunday morning. There's a wide range of options. Email outreach@thecrossing.com and just say, I want to volunteer, and Josh will connect with you. Now, we do have a few summer camp options coming up depending on the ages of your kids. And if you want to help them be awesome camps, please email outreach@thecrossing.com. Now, if you do have those little kids, one of the camps is a VBS, June 13th through 17th. It is a super fun experience with activities like water slides and crafts and small groups and Bible lessons and worship. Your kids are going to have so much fun. They're going to make friends and they're going to have a great time. It's $25 per child, and that includes a snack, it includes a shirt, and a couple hours of fun every day. And it's open to kids in kindergarten through 5th grade in this next school year. You can go to thecrossing.com and scroll down to the link, and we've put the link also in the description too if you want to just do it here. If you've got any questions, you can direct them to Tony. He is our children's pastor, and his email is tjohnson@thecrossing.com. You know, the Bible has a verse that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where we invest our treasure, it shapes our hearts. And if your heart is with the crossing, or you want your heart to be in the substantial, important things that we're all doing together here to bless the world, please give a donation. And if this is becoming your church home, set up reoccurring giving to always be a part of what your church is doing. Your gifts make a huge difference in people's lives. To give a donation, go to thecrossing.com/give. Thanks for being here. We will see you online all the time. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe here on YouTube. And when you're in Orange County, come to campus for a service on Sundays, 9:15 and 11:15. We will see you soon.